This is Peter Venkman saying...
The proton pack is not a toy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Proton Pack is Not a Toy. My name is Matt, and this is the 14th and last episode of the Venkman conversion. This summer, I have been taking my Proton Pack and changing up some details of it to make it look more like the Ghostbusters 2 version of the Venkman Hero Pack. And over the last few months, I have changed probably about 30 things. I haven't really counted them up, but I know it's over 25 details on my pack that weren't quite exact or up to par or didn't match what we saw with the Venkman. And I've changed those things. And many of you have been following along and seen every episode. And for that, I do appreciate it. And I thank you guys. This episode is just going to be kind of me showing you some of the pictures I took for the weathering process. When I'm weathering my pack, I've got my phone looking at certain pictures and stretched out and blown up as big as I can, so I can look at those details and try to match them up and replicate them or copy them the best I can. So I was not recording during that process, but I did manage to take many pictures along the way to record the process, if not record the actual video of it. And then there was some details that I hadn't covered yet that I wanted to. I wasn't really sure how I was going to get them done. And I'll show those along the way as well. So again, if you've been following along for the first 13 episodes and pretty much on a weekly basis for the whole summer, I do appreciate it. And I thank you guys so much for your feedback and your support for this project. It's fun to finally be done. I'm ready to be done with it. Doing things on a weekly basis is not really something that I have planned for the channel going forward, but for this series is something that I felt was necessary. And again, thank you guys for keeping up with it. And going after this, I will have some other videos, other things I've wanted to post that I've waited on since I've been doing the Venkman conversion videos. And so that'll give me time to kind of plan those out and then also get ready for Halloween coming up in just over a month. This will be my Halloween Proton Pack this year, obviously. Worked a lot of hours and really hard on it. And I'm happy with the way that it has turned out. The one thing that I don't have in it yet that I do have planned to change after this point is the pop mechanism that I have pending. I've got an order out for that, and then I'll probably do a video separately from the Venkman conversion video series, just showing how that gets installed and how it works. But as you see the pack now, I'm pretty much done with all the weathering that I'm going to do with it. I did take a kind of a low grade sandpaper and really go over just the surface of it, not really putting any pressure on it, but just enough to take some of the shine off of the shell and the aluminum parts. And then there were certain areas where I wanted to do a fair amount of weathering or to replicate something that I did see with the Venkman pack. And the first one was on the opposite side over here. And I'll see if I can turn my pack around without having it fall over. Here on the power cell, the blue light, you see along the bottom here. This is an area that shows up on both movies, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, to have quite a bit of wear there where the gray gel coat underneath the paint on the Venkman pack had been rubbed. The paint had been rubbed off to show that. And so I wanted to replicate that. And so what I first tried was just hitting it with some sandpaper and rubbing off that paint layer and trying to do the same thing just to get to the gel coat layer. And didn't quite get the result I wanted. I did kind of get the gray color from the primer that I had underneath. But then once I got past that, I was really getting into more of the fiberglass that I wanted to. And decided what I would do is actually just go. I had some gray paint, go and paint over that just enough to cover the spot where it needed to look that gray color. Gray matched up perfectly. And then I did go back and touch up a little bit with the black as well. So just got some black spray paint, sprayed it into like a solo cup, and then dabbed it with a paintbrush. That way I'd had the same black paint going on over there. On the bottom, what we call a cosmetic plate, there's actually a scratched out circle with the number 1 in it on the Venkman Hero. And that was something that I wanted to replicate, and then it's got quite a bit of weathering on it as well. I had to be careful. I had to think, okay, how much of this weathering was there in '89, and how much of this weathering has come since the filming had ended on Ghostbusters 2. So I'm not trying to replicate the weathering that we see on the modern day pack, because I think a lot of that has accrued since 1989, and I'm trying to match that 1989 look. So I did give it quite a bit of weathering though, because it is that bottom one that's going to get a lot of wear, just because if it gets sat down, that's where it gets sat down if you're setting it up right side up. And then I gave it a little bit of gray over here as well. So again, sanded off the edges. This one not so much with the paint, but did give it some sanding and scratching it with some X-Acto knives to get that look and try to match it up. So that was a big one. On the thrower, there was one specific spot I wanted to replicate, and it's this kind of swirly look right here on the side next to the heatsink. You can see that actually in both movies. There's a close-up of the crossing the streams, kind of a behind-the-scenes shot of this thrower close up, and you can see kind of a discoloration. Don't know if it's just kind of scratches or whatever, but what I ended up doing, got a pencil, and then on the eraser end, I taped a piece of sandpaper on there and just lightly did little circles and tried to match kind of the pattern that we'd see on that pack. And so again, this is one where it shows up in Ghostbusters 1. You really don't see this side on the close-ups in Ghostbusters 2, but if you look at the pack nowadays, that is an artifact that you do still see on there. So I kind of went in between the first movie and what we see modern day to get that look. Then a lot of the edges, I just went with an X-Acto knife or with that piece of sandpaper and just kind of rub the edge off just enough for it to catch the light on a lot of these edges, where if you're going to set it down, it's going to be somewhere where it's going to rub, and then a lot here on the gun track on the bottom as well. The main pictures that I used for reference for that were the courtroom scene. There's 2 close-ups of the thrower for the Do-Re Egon joke there, and the fun fact with that is that Peter and Egon are both using the Venkman Hero Pack in the Do-Re Egon scene. So we get 2 shots, close-ups of the thrower with Peter holding it and with Egon holding it, and they hold it at different angles, which is nice because that allows me to see some of the details on one shot that I can't see on another. But we didn't get a 360 view of the whole thrower, so I did do a little interpreting from modern day pictures as well. For that, one of the big ones was right here on the bar graph, right around the bezel here. There are scratches above and below along the length of the top and the bottom of the bar graph bezel, and I tried to scratch and replicate that look here on mine as well. Didn't quite get it exact, but got the spirit of it. And then a few other things. Well, before I hang this up, one of the things I noticed was the gun knob right here Actually has a hole drilled out through it. It may be drilled all the way through, but I just drilled enough of it to kind of get in there, and then put a little bit of black paint in there to make it dark. And that was one that I noticed even in the Ghostbusters 1 reference photos. I was seeing that hole on that side of that knob. So I wanted to replicate that as well. I wanted to add these dimples to the cyclotron rings. On most of the packs, if not all of the other packs, they do show up as being black. But because the Venkman was the pack that they used to create the semi-hero packs for Ghostbusters 2, I'm assuming some of the material that they used to create those packs was left in there. And so when you look at the Venkman, it's the holes that don't run all the way through. They're just kind of little dimples or divots. They show up as white. So that's what I did. I just kind of marked them off. What I used was not the Venkman, but I used the Spengler Semi-Hero. And the reference pictures we have for those don't include the bumpers. So there's some good straight-on shots of those dimples on the cyclotron rings without having the bumper obscuring it. I used the Spengler Semi-Hero because it was created using the Venkman Hero. So I'm assuming that the dimples that we see in the Spengler Semi-Hero would be in the same location as the Venkman Heroes. So marked them off just kind of the best I could, kind of eyeballing it. Found some reference on GB Fans. Somebody had done some measurements and scaled it up. And so I used those drawings to figure out exactly where I wanted to put them, and then just got a small drill bit and did it by hand. I did not use a power drill for that one. Just pretty much got it to where I could turn it and didn't have to paint it or anything because the shell underneath is white when you do that. So that was an easy one to do once I had it all mapped out. And then one thing I was debating on doing or not was adding these nipples for the EDA discs. The pack that I have, the shell, is flat right there. If you look at the hero shells, you do see that there is a raised up portion right in the center. And it's believed that the original pack, I guess, had some of these rivets. And when you see the packs that were created from them, they don't have the actual rivets there, but it's, the leftover look of that raised up portion being there. I just went and put the smallest rivets that I had into those discs and then painted over them black, and that's where I'm using for mine. Then one other paint detail that I wanted to do is on the back side over here. When I did the Proton Pack Detective series, the Venkman, one of the ways that I identified it in each of the movies was by the large rivet here on the back corner of the motherboard. This top one has what I always thought looked like the number 5 kind of scratched in it, just incidentally. So it's not an actual number 5, but to me, it looks like an accidental number 5 on there. And so I scratched, actually I had to scratch off the paint that I had mine because it was weathered differently. And then I went back, painted over it black, and then scratched it with an X-Acto knife down to roughly the shape and kind of pattern that I saw looking at the original pack close up. The other thing that I picked up for this pack, just cost me $1 on eBay, was this little card or a little tag that I'm going to use as kind of the evidence exhibit tag that you see in Ghostbusters 2 when they have the fight in the courtroom scene. Each of the packs still have the exhibit tag on there. And I believe the Venkman, I've kind of narrowed it down. I think it's Exhibit C, but I haven't printed out the label that'll go on there. But that'll be a fun little display thing that I can just add there on my pack when I have it at home. But if I have it out for a party or Halloween or just any kind of event, I'll probably leave that off there so I don't lose it. But just another little detail to make it look like it's straight out of the courtroom scene from Ghostbusters 2. Last thing I really need to do, I'm wearing my uniform, so I want to put it on, show you guys how it looks wearing it. So I don't have on my elbow pads or my belt, sue me. I just wanted to have kind of the uniform to go with it. This is the first time I have put it on since I started the process. And it's the first time I'm wearing it with this Alice frame. And I actually lost some weight since the start of the summer, so I need to tighten my waist belt a little bit here. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And you can see it for yourself. I did tighten up a lot of screws and nuts and bolts and stuff, so it has a lot less rattle, feels a lot more secure, and really doesn't have that feeling like it can break at any point or anything really loose. It's been good for me to be able to do all of this and really revive this pack and make it be better, be what it can be. It's been an education on my part, learning how to do new skills. There's a lot of things I did with this pack that I'd never tried on a pack before, and I was able to go back and fix some of the things that I had done incorrectly when I first built the thrower and the pack itself, and to be able to revisit some of the things that I did not do correctly the first time, again, help build my skill set and help me hopefully going forward be a better builder, and then show you guys some of my mistakes so that hopefully you can avoid those in your build process. You're looking at the Venkman Hero Pack on any of the reference photos that you can see there on the Ghostbusters reference library, and you see any like glaring omission on something that I should have changed on my pack that I didn't, I'm open to those suggestions. I could always go back and do one more episode of fan submitted things that needed to be changed, but for the most part I think I've changed everything that I want to with this pack. So one thing I am noticing is there is a spot right in the middle of my back where that crossbar is with this LC1, where the LC2 does go farther back, so I can definitely notice the difference with the LC1 and the LC2. So that'll be interesting going forward using this as my primary pack. But no regrets on that. I went for accuracy and I'm happy with it, and really happy with the process and the final results. So again, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.